What's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we got the latest injury news on the Minnesota Vikings front and the Philadelphia Eagles front. And the Eagles are getting a lot of key guys back. Jalen Carter will be out there this Sunday. Quinion Mitchell should be good to go. Landon Dickerson, I'm assuming they're going to hold him out, but we'll see how that plays out for the rest of the week. And then on the second half of today's show, I do want to talk about a Vikings trade that nobody is talking about. There are no reports. There are no rumors. This is just me speculating, so I do want to talk about that on the second half of today's show. But speaking about this must-win game against the Philadelphia Eagles, it's going to be a battle. It's two NFC North powerhouses, in my opinion, two of the best rosters in the NFC going head-to-head at US Bank Stadium. And if you guys want the Vikings to move to 4-2 on the season, there is such a difference, especially in this loaded NFC North, this loaded NFC between 3-3 and 4-2. So if you guys want the Vikings to beat the Eagles, go down there and smash that thumbs up icon. All right, let's start off first talking about the quarterback position. Honestly, I'm kind of getting sick and tired of talking about it, but the latest reports we are getting and all the signs are pointing to Carson Wentz starting versus the Philadelphia Eagles this upcoming Sunday. Now, biggest reason for me thinking that, and we are filming this here on Thursday, but we only have the Wednesday injury report right now, and the biggest thing you're going to notice here is Carson Wentz with that shoulder injury. He participated in full, and J.J. McCarthy with that ankle injury, he was only a limited participant. So obviously, I think this is telling me that the Vikings are leaning towards Carson Wentz, but the one kind of tidbit here that makes me think J.J. has a slight chance is, why did Kevin O'Connell just flat out announce it? Because I don't think there really is any gamesmanship he's playing with Vic Fangio, Eagles defensive coordinator. Like, I'm sure they're not really switching up their game plan too much compared to Carson Wentz starting with J.J. McCarthy. But some other guys here, Blake Cashman, full participant. That is awesome. Michael Juergens, full participant as well. And then I have never been this happy to see this many guys listed as limited. Like Donovan Jackson, he should be out there. Brian O'Neill, he should be out there. Now, Andrew Van Ginkel is the kicker here. He did practice and limited with that neck injury, but if he is able to go, like, you're going to have all starters defensively, which will be absolutely huge for this Vikings defense with a tough test against the Eagles offense. Even though they have been struggling, they still have all types of talents. They have two great wide receivers, got a great running back in Saquon Barkley, so having Andrew Van Ginkel back in the fold will be huge. But let's tie this back into Carson Wentz here. If Carson Wentz does get the start, which, like I said, all points are indicating that he will, a Wentz win against the Eagles would legitimately break that fan base. Like, the Eagles fan base, I mean, they are a 4-2 football team, and they're acting like the world is ending. And if they go to US Bank Stadium, lose their third game in the row, and they lose to Carson Wentz, could you imagine the reaction that fan base would have? I absolutely love the idea of Wentz beating them. I think Wentz is going to have a little extra juice, even though that was a while ago when he was with the Eagles. I mean, back in, I think, 2017, 2018 was his last season. But, I mean, could you imagine what Eagles fans would be saying, especially if Carson Wentz, thoroughly outplays Jalen Hurts? I mean, what are they going to be saying after the game? Like, that fan base will be in disarray. They'll be crashing out. So that would be one huge, at least benefit for me, watching another fan base absolutely collapse there if Wentz does end up beating them. But we do have another update coming in here from Darren Wolfson, as he did say this, saying Carson Wentz is expected to start on Sunday. And he said he can't imagine J.J. McCarthy being ready for next week's game on Thursday night. So this is kind of setting up for Carson Wentz to have another 2-game window where he'll probably get to start this week against the Philadelphia Eagles. He'll start on that short week as the Vikings are traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. Now, I'm also assuming the NFL, for the storyline side of it, I am sure they're praying that J.J. McCarthy's back. Because then you have the J.J. McCarthy versus Jim Harbaugh storylines. I'm sure the NFL, they're hoping just get more buzz around that game. And obviously, J.J. McCarthy, a polarizing player regardless of the storylines. Like, I'm sure they're hoping that J.J. is out there. But at least Darren Wolfson, he's saying that Carson Wentz will probably start the next 2 games. So it sounds like J.J. will return Week 9 back in Michigan, taking on the Detroit Lions on the road. Now, I made this argument on a previous show that, the schedule really shouldn't matter when J.J. McCarthy returns. I think it's just easy to say, the Ravens at home would be an easier spot for J.J. to return. They don't have a good defense compared to the Lions. You're also back at US Bank Stadium. You're not on the road in Detroit. But I don't really think the schedule should matter too much because, J.J. is going to eventually, in his NFL career, have to go to Detroit and play the Lions. He's going to have to go to Lambeau and play the Packers. Like, the NFL, it's a brutal league, so you can't really kind of pick your spots on the schedule. If he is ready to go, whenever he is 110% fully healthy, you have to play him. But also, I am very, very excited to see Wentz play this weekend. But, I think the question becomes if that report from Darren Wolfson is true and, we're going to take his word for it, what happens if Carson Wentz wins the next 2 weeks? Like, what if he beats the Eagles? What if he goes on the road and beats a very good Chargers team, and then he's 4-1 as the Vikings starter, and the Vikings are 5-2 as a whole? Then would they go back to J.J. McCarthy, especially if Wentz plays well? Like, I don't even know if I would want to go back to J.J. McCarthy. And you guys know me, I'm one of the biggest J.J. McCarthy fans out there. But if Wentz, he can change my opinion on that situation very, very fast. Because if he goes out there, beats two quality football teams, Vikings move to 5-2, it would be a tough sell for the other guys and the veterans in that locker room saying, hey, we still need to develop the kid. We need to figure out if we have an answer, even if it is a detriment to us winning that week. Also in a massive spot against the Detroit Lions. If the offense is rolling, you're on a 2-game win streak. That gets incredibly dicey on who's going to start that Week 9 game. So that's going to be something to follow over the next couple of weeks. But some great news for Vikings fans for the first time all season. Kevin Seifert tweeting this out, that the Vikings are practicing indoors today. That's not the first time all season, but this is. All members of the 53 on the field in some capacity. That has never happened this season. It feels so good. That's why I've been making the argument. I feel like the Viking season truly does start this Week 7 matchup against the Eagles because you have been able to kind of maintain the ship a little bit. You've been able to overcome some adversity, a lot of injuries. You're traveling across the pond, and now you're getting all these guys fully healthy. You're getting some key cogs in the system back. Van Ginkel, Cashman, Brian O'Neill, Donovan Jackson. It's going to be very, very, very exciting. Now, obviously, Ryan Kelly and Aaron Jones not included here, but they're not on the 53-man roster right now. But, hey, in a couple of weeks, we might have the full 53-man roster from beginning of the season back. So this team is getting healthy. But, again, this weekend, it all comes back to the quarterback position. It comes back to Carson Wentz. And even though you guys know me, I'm a massive, massive J.J. McCarthy fan, I will stand on this take. If he is 100% healthy, I think you have to start him. But also, I'm going to be supporting that redhead brother, Carson Wentz, all game on Sunday. We'll be pulling for him. So if you guys want to show him some love, type those 11s down below. Show Carson Wentz your support because he's got to go get his revenge against his former team this upcoming weekend. So type those 11s down below in the comments section. All right, coming up next year on the show, I do want to talk about a trade that no Vikings fans are talking about, no beat reporters are talking about. There are no reports out there. But this was just some late night thoughts I had with the trade deadline, approaching over the next couple of weeks. But before we do so, I got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that being Prize Picks. Now, if you guys download the Prize Picks app today, plug in promo code CLNS, we'll hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks has a brand new feature called Stacks, meaning you can pick up to the same player 3 times in the same lineup. So, for example, if you want to pick more on Justin Jefferson's receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns this weekend against the Eagles, well, now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. And they have another cool feature called the Feed tab, where you guys can follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app, copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, celebrity, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new Feed tab on Prize Picks. So download the Prize Picks app today, plug in that promo code CLNS, get hooked up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But massive, massive shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, so the trade idea that I had pop in my brain late at night was around Jalen Nailor. And I think a Jalen Nailor trade is a little more likely than we think. And I will say this first. This is pure speculation on my end. There are no Vikings beat reporters reporting this, like Alec Lewis, Ben Gesselin, any of these tapped-in guys. They haven't reported this whatsoever. There is no smoke here. But, again, this is just speculation on my end. So let's dive into it. So, number one, Jalen Nailor is on the last year of his contract. He was a 6th-round pick. He's on the books for the rest of the season for around $900,000. So for a team trying to acquire Jalen Nailor, it's a very easy contract to consume under their current cap space in 2025. And also, the Vikings this past draft drafted his future replacement. They drafted Ty Felton for a reason. They want him to be the wide receiver 3 of the future. Even, after they traded for Adam Thielen, they still believe Ty Felton will be the wide receiver 3 of the future next to Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. So really, do they have a need for Jalen Nailor after the season? I don't think so. And also this, teams right now in the NFL are completely desperate for wide receivers. Now, most of these teams are looking for true wide receiver twos. Like we've heard Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, Jacoby Myers, like these more prominent names in the NFL, they have been out there. But what if these teams who are battling out for a Jacoby, for an Olave, for a Waddle, strike out on those guys? Well, then maybe they could be calling the Minnesota Vikings to get a guy like Jalen Nailor who can still spread the field. He can put some pressure on the safeties. He is a burner. So teams will be calling potentially for Jalen Nailor. And also, this is connecting some dots here. This could make the Adam Thielen trade worth it. Because I think we can all collectively agree the Adam Thielen trade right now kind of, it doesn't look like a disaster. You necessarily only gave up a 5th-round pick when it's all said and done. But, it's definitely not a good trade for the Vikings. And if you want to make this trade worth it, of you giving up a 2026 5th-round pick, a 2027 4th-round pick, this would allow Thielen just to hop in that wide receiver 3 position. And if you keep Jalen Nailor on the team, is Thielen really going to have too much opportunity to make this trade worth it? I have my doubts there. So again, I'm not saying there's any smoke around Nailor getting traded. I could just see this being something like kind of similar to the TJ Hawkinson trade when he was traded at the NFL trade deadline. I remember when I got that notification, I was like, did I take an edible or something before I got into work today? Like, there was no reports about that. And we get this bombshell that the Vikings were trading for TJ Hawkinson. So there could be some smoke there, or there isn't smoke there, excuse me, but this could be something that goes down. So could the Vikings trade Jalen Nailor? I think it's definitely on the table. Again, I'm not saying I would trade Nailor. I just think from the Vikings front, like if you want to, maybe you get like a 5th-round pick back for Nailor, that could make the Adam Thielen trade worth it because you're getting a 5th-round pick back, which is pretty much what you gave up for Thielen, and then you'd be getting more production out of Thielen since he would be in that wide receiver 3 spot. It's just pure speculation on my end. But with NFL trade deadline, coming up in the next couple of weeks, like it has kind of turned into almost like the prime of the NBA trade deadline, where if you guys remember in the NBA, like it used to be hectic around the trade deadline. Like superstars, role players are getting traded, felt like every other 10 minutes when the trade deadline was approaching. I could see Jalen Nailor being one of those sneaky names. So I'll kind of call my shot here. I'm not saying he is going to be traded, but I definitely think there is a chance. So I'll ask you guys, not would you trade Jalen Nailor, but do you think the Vikings will trade Jalen Nailor? What say you? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And we'll hop on out of here. Appreciate all of you guys for watching today's show. As always, let's go Vikes.